Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Triangle BNI. My name is Mike Manning. And each week we bring you a success story from Triangle BNI. And BNI is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. And our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle, if you're not from the area, it's Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill in central North Carolina. Have about 40 chapters, over 700 members. And like I said, each week we want to show you why it's in your best interest if you're looking to start a business or grow a business, why you should join BNI here. And we'll get us some details how you can do that. I want to introduce our guest today, Bill Davis with Team Nimbus. It's an international business advisory service that helps business owners and sales professionals make more money in less time while living the life they want. Bill, glad to have you here today.
Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure.
So that's a lot to do with business owners and sales professionals. More money, less time, and living the life they want. I like that. We'll get into that. Bill is in RD09, Triangle's Best. They meet Mondays, 8:30 a.m. at Family Legacy Solutions in Cary. And so I'm assuming you guys are off today.
Yeah, we are. That's why I'm
Right?
here.
I like that. I like that a lot. I thought you just raced here from there, but we're glad to have you. So during the course of the show, we like to explain to people what BNI is if they've never been to a BNI meeting anywhere, anywhere around the world they can go. And so we'll talk about that. And one of the first things we do to introduce the featured speaker each week at their BNI chapters to go through the member bio sheet. And I'm asked questions, and your turn to answer everything. So speaker today, Bill Davis. Business name is Team Nimbus. The profession is business coaching.
Business coaching and facilitating mastermind groups.
All right. And your location?
I'm located at 189 Windchime Court, Suite 202. That's right in Raleigh, North Raleigh.
And years into business.
Aha, let's see. It's been 14 years.
Okay, good deal. Previous types of jobs.
Well, I spent many years in the telecommunications industry. So I have sold, I've been a sales manager, I've been a branch manager, I've got a range of customer service experience, project management, training and education, just to name a few.
Right. Best job in high school you had?
Best job in high school.
Or the most memorable job, whether it lasted a day or a year.
Do you know how long you're asking me to think back, Mike? My best job in high school was at a high school. It was my very first job. I was a maintenance and custodial worker for a summer at Pine Forest High School back in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I got to do all kinds of things.
What's minimum wage back then?
I don't even remember.
Okay. So the next section here is personal information, family information, spouse.
Well, I've got a wife. That's Pearlie. I happen to have two children. I've got a daughter, Tiffany, who's 47. She's a veterinarian in Memphis. And then I have a 17-year-old son who's a senior and a Life Scout in Boy Scouts.
All right. And we're going to talk more about Boy Scouts. I saw that on your list, but 47 and 17.
Yep.
The math works, huh?
Well, sometimes you lose your mind.
But glad to have him. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hobbies and activities of interest.
Well, I like jazz. I enjoy playing golf. I'm not any good at it, but I sure as heck enjoy it. And then I spend an awful lot of time in the scouting program.
So with golfers that say that they're not very good at it, but they enjoy it. So if you're invited to be on a scramble team, are you there because you're good off the tee box or you can putt?
I'm better off the tee box.
Okay. Because you always got to have the designated guy.
Got to have one or the other, right?
Just put it in the middle of the fairway. We'll take
there
it.
There you go.
So, city of residence and how long?
I live in Raleigh. Actually, I've got a Raleigh address. It's Garner, but it's a Raleigh address. And I've been in the Raleigh area, back in the Raleigh area since 2001.
Okay. Your burning desire is to
travel the world with my son.
What's the first stop?
You know what? It doesn't matter as long as it's outside the continental United States.
All righty. The key to your success?
Well, I'll tell you, the key to my success is I always show up on time. I show up on time, prepared, and know what it is I'm supposed to do.
All right. I like that. My favorite question, something no one knows about you.
Wow, let's see. So I was on the floor of the Democratic National Convention in 1992 when Clinton gave his acceptance speech.
And what were you doing on the floor?
I was responsible for all of the telecommunication services in Madison Square Garden and the surrounding hotels
Oh, no
for
pressure
that
there, huh?
for the Democratic National Convention.
So, for those of us never have been to a convention or probably won't go, what was that feeling like on the floor?
Uh actually it's indescribable. You see people that you've seen on television, you feel the excitement and the buzz. At the same time, you have this nauseous feeling in your stomach because we had 2,500 telephones in there, all of which had to work.
Yeah. How long were you setting up before the convention actually started?
Almost, and I got to think back, Mike, almost 6 months.
Oh, wow.
We were in the midst of setting up when I became the general manager in Manhattan. I picked that up in the last 45 days, in fact. And there's much more to that story. I won't go into it today, but one day we ought to have a one-to-one, and I'll tell you all about it.
And how many people were working that the day the convention started? How many people did you have working for you and with you to make that happen?
I probably had 50 or 60 technicians
Wow.
in Madison Square Garden during that time.
Oh,
Yeah.
very impressive.
Well, scary.
Yeah.
Tell you the truth, it was more scary than it was impressive.
But everything went off well?
It did. We had
Okay.
one telephone that did not have dial tone on Thursday morning of the convention, and that
Okay.
was all. Yeah.
And the greatest joy you had was when the convention was over and everybody left, right?
When it was all over. That's true.
All right, so let's get into talking about Team Nimbus. Actually, real quick before we do that, let's tell everybody how they can get in touch with Triangle BNI. Steve Hand, the executive director for the area, Mary and Brenda in his office. Love for you to give them a call if you are interested in learning more about BNI and how to go about visiting a chapter. 919-465-1667, or you can send an email to them, bni@nissancommunications.com, with any questions you have. And also, if you go to trianglebni.com, there's a drop-down box that says find a chapter, and you can pull up a chapter in a part of town, a day of the week, a day part, and look at all the people in there to see if there are some natural referral partners for you, and just go visit a chapter. It's a wonderful way to learn about things. It's very structured, which we love about it. You meet people who are doing the same thing you're doing, trying to grow a business. So we recommend you find one of those ways to get in touch with the office. Come visit a chapter, say hi to us. So Team Nimbus today, here we are, Labor Day Monday, 2018. You're really like a
Time gets away.
holiday weekend, yeah. So where's Team Nimbus today? What do you have going on?
Well, Team Nimbus, we do three things, or I do three things. I run a training program that's designed to have people double their business during the 100 days that they're in the program. That's called 100 Days to Abundance. Then I run mastermind groups for people that are in business by themselves. We call that Rainmaker. And for business owners that have teams and employees, we call it Business Builder. And then I do one-on-one coaching with business owners also. So those are the three modes that I use to work with business owners and sales professionals to grow their business. What's happening today is, as of this Thursday, as a matter of fact, we've expanded 100 Days to Abundance. It's now available no matter where people are. In addition to the in-classroom program, it's available on what I call an anywhere basis. We're going to deliver it via video conference simultaneously.
Very nice. And they can go to teamnimbus.com to get more information on
They
that.
can. The fastest thing to do is to go to 100daystoabundance.com. It'll take them straight to the program.
Very nice. All right. I know you've had a lot of success with that.
Thank you.
Which of these did you start Team Nimbus with?
I actually started Team Nimbus with a one-day workshop called How to Be a Rainmaker in Your Business. I will tell you, the way we started Team Nimbus is I ran that workshop for a number of months as a one-day workshop at an aggressive price. Then we introduced a program that we called Fast Track, which was a 90-day program, somewhat similar to 100 Days to Abundance. And of course, the people we went to for that program were people that had been in the How to Be a Rainmaker workshop. And then we were off to the races.
Where'd you get the name Nimbus from?
Nimbus actually is the rain cloud. We're in the business of making rainmakers, and if you're going to have rainmakers, you got to have a rain cloud. So that's where Nimbus comes from.
I like that. So your first introduction to BNI was when and where and how?
I was in New Jersey. I was getting ready to retire from my corporate career. And two individuals that I had a lot of respect for came to me independently. Now, this is a completely true story. And unbeknownst to each other, they both said the exact same thing to me. Bill, when you get to North Carolina, join two organizations. One is BNI, and the other they named a particular service organization. Now, because I trusted those two individuals, when I got to North Carolina, I did some research and I took off and went to my first BNI meeting. Interestingly enough, right up the street from where my office currently is. Yeah. And so I went to that meeting. I went to a couple of other meetings. Then I actually stopped because I got in the process of buying a house. Once I got settled in where we live now, I went back to looking for a BNI group to join. And I found a core group, that is a group that was just starting, met at a bagel shop not too far from my house, and the rest is history.
What connection did you have to that core group the first time you visited them?
Actually none. It was location,
Okay.
which I think is the most important thing in finding a BNI chapter. I tell people, figure out what day of the week, time of the day works for you that you know you'll be there every week, and go there. And it met that qualification. And I was in that chapter for quite a long time, and it served me very, very well.
I always like to ask people the first time they go to a meeting, what did you take more from when you first walked in, not knowing much about it, or when you left going, holy cow, look what I just walked into?
It wasn't obvious to me, Mike. I was there and continued to go there primarily because those two people that I respected so much had such high regard for BNI. And I assumed at some point I would understand it or figure it out. And so I remember where that meeting was. I remember who was at that meeting. I don't remember what happened during that meeting at all.
So what got you to North Carolina then?
Well, I'm originally from North Carolina. I was born 60 miles from where we are now. I retired, got married, had a son. We wanted to move back closer. My wife is from South Florida. And so Raleigh seemed to be a good spot. It wasn't right in my old hometown, and it was halfway back to South Florida.
Okay. All right. We like that. Yeah, family. Want to be near them, right?
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Wanted to get my son close to his grandparents.
So as you were retiring from the telecommunications industry, what thoughts did you have on, did you always want to be a business coach? How'd that come about?
That really developed in the latter part of my career. I was doing some internal consulting and coaching. I hired a coach that was a real inspiration to me, a guy named Phil Mazarski. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But out of watching his work and his work with me, I got real clear that that's what I wanted. That's the type of work I wanted to do, and that I thought I had a particular fit for it.
Yeah. When was that aha moment in your business coaching life that you thought, you know what? I think this is going to work. I'm going to make it.
As a small business owner, I don't know that you ever really think that you're going to make it.
We've got that answer before.
That's right. But let me go back to the aha moment. I took a coach training program after I retired. And then I put together a list of people that I wanted to do what we called a complimentary session with. And I called them and I told them, look, I need to practice this session. I'm going to do a coaching career. And what I consistently got told by those people who were friends and associates is, well, Bill, it's about time you did that. You're a natural for that. That was the aha moment for me as I worked through that list, scheduling my first appointments.
So what you do, I think, is kind of a mirror image of what BNI does in that they're structured to help people start or grow a business. So how did you start using BNI once you got in, once you became a member? How did you start using that to grow your business to help others grow their business?
Well, if you'll remember, when I came back to North Carolina, I had been gone for 28 years. I didn't know anyone in Raleigh. So I needed to build a network and develop some trust, etc., as quickly as I could. And BNI was the vehicle for me. Everybody that I knew and had done business with for the last 12 years was up in the Northeast. Most small business opportunities come via word of mouth. I needed a network so I could have some word of mouth. And BNI, as you know, is designed specifically to accomplish that.
And so your chapter officially became a chapter in January of 2003.
That's right.
So the questions we ask may or may not, you may or may not remember some things from 2003, but I think we'll get the point across.
Okay.
So when did you start seeing BNI, your business grow, your consulting business
Yeah.
at the time before Team Nimbus? Where did you realize
Yeah.
a BNI was helping that grow?
Yeah. It started immediately. A couple of members in the chapter hired me to coach them. That was a big deal because most of my coaching business was located outside of Raleigh. And then where it really began to show is when I morphed my coaching business into Team Nimbus. Who I went to for those first workshops, that how to be a rainmaker in your business, I went to my to my BNI members, said, I'm trying to get this started. Would you please come to my workshop? And they did. And then they really were in a position to utilize word of mouth. Not necessarily to even say how great it was or wasn't, but to just share with other people, there's this workshop, you might want to go. It made a big difference.
And how did you feel that first workshop went? How confident were you? Results? And I don't even know what results you were looking for, other than probably a couple of clients, right?
No, I'm going to tell you, it went great, but let me tell you why it went great. My job was to fill the room. The associate that actually created Team Nimbus, a gentleman named Art Radke, came and actually delivered the workshop. So I felt great on the day of the workshop because I had gotten my work done. I'd gotten my work done, which was to fill the room.
All right. And BNI chapters are seat specific. So Bill, being a business coach, the only one in there you like, know, and respect and trust and get to know the folks in there. You earned their trust and respect, and then they refer you out. So that's one of the many good things about BNI's being seat specific is you stand up each week and you've got, and how many people in your chapter now?
We have 18 people in our chapter.
So you have 17 other salespeople each week going out when they hear, oh, my business is XYZ or not doing what I expect. You need to call Bill.
That's right.
And that's one of the great things about BNI is it's seat specific. You've got 17 other people, and I know you've learned how to utilize them over the years.
Well, I work at it real hard.
And you've also held numerous seats on leadership.
I have. I'm thinking. I think I have held every leadership position over time. Now, I've been a BNI member for a very long time, so I've had a lot of opportunities. And it's a great opportunity, actually, to take a leadership team position. You get a much better understanding of how BNI really works, and it's a significant contribution to your chapter to be a member of the leadership team.
Could you put, granted, you've been doing this for a while, if you went back to 2010 or just
Mhm.
percentage wise, is there a number you could put on your bottom line that's attributed to BNI, connections you make and everything?
Yeah, actually, I don't measure it in terms of dollars, but I will tell you how I do measure it. And people around BNI have heard me say this. There have been on more than one occasion, every single client in Team Nimbus was either a BNI member, a referral from BNI, or someone that was referring someone else. I owe my Team Nimbus business to BNI. I have no question about it. It's always been the largest percent of my clients are also BNI members or become BNI members. And again, as I've said, there have been times, excuse me, when 100% of my clients were associated with BNI.
The motto for BNI is givers gain. The other one I like is secure for the common cold call. When was the last time you had a cold call for Team Nimbus?
I don't cold call.
And your goal was never to
I
start the cold call, right?
well, no, I'm committed to not cold call. BNI gave me the opportunity to stay in that commitment.
So you have degrees or experiences from, and we're just laughing about college football earlier, of which one, who you're going to cheer for each Saturday. NC State, Stanford, Emory in Atlanta, University of Pennsylvania, and the Aspen Institute.
Yep,
So you love to learn. That's the first
yep,
thing I grab from that. So what do you take from each of these? What do you learn to pass on to your clients through
wow,
Team Nimbus?
wow, that's good. So let me just kind of go through some of those. Obviously,
You just didn't want to work. You want to stay in
that's
school. That's
right.
the other thing I learned from reading this.
That's right. Now, no, North Carolina State, of course, is where I got my undergraduate degree. Stanford was the Stanford Executive Program, which was a seven-week program. Emory was the Management Development Program, and Wharton was a finances for non-financial managers kind of program. And in reality, the thing I learned was the power of being connected to people in networks. My undergraduate degree accepted. My undergraduate degree taught me a structure of thinking, et cetera. But those other programs really were about meeting people of consequence and developing a network. And then you learned what you learned in the program, but the most valuable takeaway were the people that you met, the experiences that they had, and what I learned from their experiences.
Another one of the things I like about BNI, not only are you seat specific in your chapter, but the people you're going to meet, because I think the word is we all know 250 to 500 people.
That's right.
So you have 18 people in your chapter. Do some quick SEC math. That's about 9,000
That's
people
right.
that
That's
people
right.
know by name in that room.
That's right.
So how have you used their connections or to get to people's
Yeah.
connections? And one of my favorite things is the referrals that come out of the blue, which I
Yeah.
love because you don't know till you ask them who you're looking for, right?
Yeah. Well, what I try to do, Mike, and I'm not always extraordinarily successful at it, but I try to zero in on figuring out by name who I want to meet.
Mhm.
And then I ask my BNI members, do they know those specific people? And if they do, I ask them to introduce me. Now, in doing that, there's always discussion about who that person is, what they do, why I want to meet them. That's the way I go about educating my fellow BNI members of who I do business with, would like to do business with. But I try to have it revolve around specific people by name because they'll know that either they know them or they don't know them. If they know them, again, I ask them to introduce me. If they don't know them, I go on through my list looking for people that they already know.
And in the structure of the BNI meeting each week, we go around the room and members and visitors as well stand up. And you get, depending on the size of your group, 30 minutes, 30 seconds to 60 seconds based on the size. And it's who you are, what you do, and who you're looking
Yep.
for. And a lot of people don't take advantage of, because you hear people all the time, I'm looking for anybody that fill in the blank, and that's not going to motivate you. So with where Team Nimbus is today, because a lot of times in BNI, you've got solopreneurs, you've got new startups and all that. So where you are today, who are you? What types of people are you looking for now with the level of where Team Nimbus
Yeah.
is?
Well, I'm looking for one, business owners that are looking to grow their business, that whether their business is at a successful point or not, they're looking to achieve a higher level. I'm also looking for those individuals that are in business by themselves that somehow feel stuck,
Mhm.
that they feel like they're banging up against their personal capacity. Because in Team Nimbus, one of the things we do is help people expand beyond that, to help them see and learn how to grow their business without being limited by their own personal bandwidth.
So how do you know the name of that person? And do you know specific names of people you're looking for, or can you just say, I'm looking for those types of
So,
people?
so I like working with financial advisors. Okay.
Got it.
I'll go to and do some research and find the name of 20, 30 financial advisors, financial advisory branch managers, because it doesn't matter which one of them.
Mhm.
But if I ask people, do you know financial advisors? That doesn't click. But if I ask them about the name of a specific financial manager, it does click. You've heard it said many times. For whatever reason, the human mind goes from the specific to the general, as opposed to going from the general to the
Mm.
specific. So I'd ask you if you knew Jim Bowdish.
Mhm.
Now, Jim Bowdish is a financial advisor. You know Jim is Jim more than you know him as a financial advisor,
Correct.
but you know Jim Bowdish,
Yes,
right?
I do.
And if I wanted to meet Jim Bowdish and you knew him, then I'd go, well, Mike, would you be willing to introduce me to Jim?
Another thing we talk about each week on the show is when you're asking for something, specific is terrific. And it's just one of those catchphrases. But when you stop and think about it, it, I love when, and realtors have a hard time because you can't, it's tough to ask, I want to meet Bill and Susie, who I know are going to move down from Wisconsin one day. Well,
Yeah,
that doesn't help anybody. And it's tough to say, I want to meet somebody who needs their car fixed or who wants to buy a house or who needs a, it's tough to get people motivated to stop and think through all in their mental Rolodex.
that's right.
Who have I last talked to that needs that?
That's right. That's the reason I like asking for the
Yes.
specific name. I'll tell you a story, and in this instance, I will go into the names, but um, I had a participant in a 100-day program, a mortgage loan officer, and he overheard me saying that I wanted to meet community bankers,
Mhm.
and he came up to me and he says, "Bill, you want to meet community bankers?" He says, "I don't know a community banker." He says, "But my roommate in college happens now to be the leader of the North Carolina Bankers Association. Would you like to meet him?"
After you hugged him, you said yes.
So I said,
Yes.
yes, I would like to meet him. Now, that gentleman's very, very busy. You can just imagine the executive director of the North Carolina Bankers Association. And he didn't know me from anybody, right? We had never met, never crossed paths. And so the appointment gets arranged through Ron Trace. Ron was the person. Um, and so when I get to the meeting, um, it's clear he's very busy at that very moment, even. So his assistant ushers me into his office. I'm sitting there. He finally comes rushing in, and we meet and speak. And he goes, "Bill," he says, "I've been thinking about you coming over here and what I understand about your business, and here are the things I can do for you." And he goes through what is clearly a well thought out list. Okay. And when he completes it, I go, Todd, thank you, but let me tell you a little bit more about my business because, you know, none of those would be of assistance. Now, you would expect that at that point, he would go, I'm done, right? But he gets this look on his face like he's not done. Like he can't let me walk out of there without quote unquote giving me something. And then what he finally says, he says, well, let me ask you this. He says, I can arrange to have the president of any bank in North Carolina speak at any event you've got. Would that be helpful? Well, of course, after I got up off the floor, I said, yes, it would be. Now, I tell that story. That had nothing to do with me. That had to do with his relationship with his college roommate from years ago. He didn't care about whether or not he disappointed me. He didn't, though, want to disappoint his friend, an old college roommate.
And that goes back to the beauty of BNI, though, is you've earned the trust of that financial advisor to make that happen.
That's my point exactly. Yeah. It's not who I am and how good I am or not. It's how good is the relationship between the person making the referral and the person they're referring.
Yeah. And usually when someone refers you to somebody, the last thing you want to do is mess that up.
Well, that's exactly,
because you're taking their good name out there.
That's exactly right. So when I get to know my BNI members well enough that they're willing to introduce the people that they are closest to, I can't lose. That to me really is the power of BNI. Not that they might bump into somebody that I want to meet, but when they and I develop a close enough relationship that they're willing to introduce me to the people in their lives that they care about and that care about them. Because then when I'm introduced, I'm credible from the start.
And did you get a bank president to come speak at one of your events?
I never had an event that I could take him up on that offer,
right.
But I had that offer.
Yeah.
You know,
wonderful.
That's exactly right.
When you first joined BNI, outside of somebody in your chapter, do you remember your first client from a referral?
I have to think about that. I, I don't remember the person. I do know what the process was, though. And
Okay.
I'll tell you that it was either a BNI member invited someone to the How to Be a Rainmaker workshop, or they invited them to that first fast track program that we had. Because I had 6 or 7 people signed up. We ended up with 13, and I didn't know half the people in the room.
Okay.
Okay. And we had only promoted it through word of mouth. So I know the process. I just don't happen to know I wish I'd known you were going to ask me that question. I'd have made up somebody. No.
Do you how far back do you go with a current client of yours, whether you want to mention her name or not?
No, I don't. My oldest client is Jeffrey Marsace. He's an estate planning attorney. You may know he's in the process of joining a BNI chapter again.
Okay.
Just so happens. And he has been a mastermind client of mine since, I believe, 2008.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
long
good.
time.
So one of your programs, you talked about 100 Days to Abundance.
Yes.
Why the 100 days? What's significant about that?
Well, one, I believe in time bounding any pursuit of a goal. Okay. And 90 days, 120 days is usually long enough to develop a habit of consequence and to put in place things that are different that you want to work for you and for it to have time to work. Okay. So 100 Days to Abundance was designed to be 100 days, also so it would match the price. When I originally started in 2008, it was 100 Days to Abundance for $100. That's only $1 a day
Mhm.
to double your business. So that's 12 sessions scheduled over a 4-month period. And the idea is that folks have the opportunity to come to those sessions, learn something, go and try to do that. And then they can come back to the next session, providing feedback and asking questions. As opposed to in a training class, you tend to accumulate all the information during the program. And then you try to go execute it without any assistance, without any feedback mechanism. You don't know whether you're executing it the way it was intended, designed, or not. So that's why 100 Days to Abundance is spread out over 100 days.
And one of the things we've talked about before with other guests is, and I'm sure you've seen this with your clients, is that if you join BNI, you've got to activate it to be successful.
That's
And the same thing with
absolutely
your
right.
programs, right?
That's absolutely right.
I mean, you'll take
The-
their money, but you'll feel
I
kind of bad, right?
I will. But you're exactly right. 100 Days to Abundance is designed to have people be in action. Same thing as activated.
Mm.
Knowledge, I say this all the time during 100 Days to Abundance. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge in action is power. And so the key is to put the things to work, or to use the term you use, to activate them. Absolutely.
And you could almost say a BNI chapter each year round. So you can't really, I don't think
Mhm.
365 days to abundance you could, but you could actually break it down to every 7 days or every 28 days. Ask for specific industry that trying to meet people here for 3 or 4 weeks and
That's
see what
right.
feedback you get, see how
That's
that goes, and then maybe move on to another, right?
that's right. You know, the thing that I really like or love about BNI is it is a time-tested, proven system. And what there is to do is to work that system. Now, a lots of people will come to a BNI meeting and be spectators,
Yes.
and they still get pretty good results.
Mhm.
But the people that really win at BNI are the ones that realize it's a system and they execute that system. And it works. It's been demonstrated
does.
over and over and over again. You know, people ask me sometimes, Bill, don't you just love BNI? And I go, no, I don't love BNI. I don't like having to be there every week. I don't like that it's the same 21
Don't
item
listen, don't
agenda every week. I don't. I do BNI because it works, and I don't try to make BNI be something that I like. I try to execute BNI the way it's designed, because the way it's designed, it works.
And to new a lot of times you hear when people are starting their own business,
Uh-huh.
it's either it's been a passion of mine. I started in my garage
right.
for 2 years, and once I knew I'd made this amount of money, I'd quit my full time job.
That's right.
Or I just got laid off Friday. I got
That's
four
right.
mouths to feed. I better be doing something on Monday. So another neat thing about BNI, and my brother and I have done this. We've started 2 businesses in BNI because of the structure.
There you go.
And it's just like you said, it's
There you
just a
go.
wonderful thing. And I know your classes are the same thing. Here's
That's
what
right.
you need to do. Try
That's right.
them. And
That's right.
sometimes you come back next week and go, or 2 weeks later, okay, either that's
That's
not
right.
working, however, or may not be the way you can
That's
sell
right.
or grow your business.
That's right. And you know, the reality is that almost nothing actually works the way that it's taught.
I'll buy that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so critical for folks in BNI or in 100 Days to Abundance is to go try it and then bring that feedback back and get the adjustment. It's like I used to think that great referrals was you telling somebody about how great Team Nimbus was and bringing them to me. No, I learned that for me, the most powerful referral is the introduction.
Mhm.
Because what I'm really getting is your relationship with the person that you're referring until I can develop my own relationship. Now, when you're teaching referrals, it doesn't sound that way. When you start working to generate and get referrals, you begin to see that it's a little bit different. So I'm real big on the term you use, activating what you learn in BNI, and activating, or I call putting into action what my clients are exposed to in Team Nimbus. That's what makes the difference. That's what produces the referrals. That's what produces the sales. That's what produces the profit.
One of the things you do to activate BNI so your fellow members know, like, and trust you is a one-to-one.
That's
Can
exactly
be
right.
in the office, cup of coffee, like a biggie sweet tea somewhere, lunch, whatever. So how do you've been doing this a long
That's
time,
right.
both BNI and the coaching.
Right.
How do you structure your one-to-ones to optimize them?
The actual sessions, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't worry about that. I'll tell you
You're
what
killing all my good questions.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Hopefully I'm getting ready to deliver up a nugget. I sure hope
I'm waiting for it. Yeah.
Here's what I do focus on optimizing, and that is that I schedule one-on-ones, that I do have them.
Yeah.
And in fact, I now have a system. I keep a record, and every Monday, an email goes out to 2 of my BNI members requesting that they schedule a one-on-one appointment with me. Now, I want to have at least one-on-one a week. I know some of my members, because they're people, aren't going to respond to that, but 1 out of 2 will. That's the way I guarantee I have at least one-on-one, one-to-one every week. If it turns out that 2's not enough, I'll invite 3 people a week to make sure I get 1. Once I'm consistently having one-to-ones, then I'll go to work on optimizing them. But the first thing I've got to optimize is having the one-on. I can't have one-on-one well enough to make up for not having one-to-ones consistently.
So then with the same person, how do you approach the second one-to-one with that same person?
You want all my secrets, don't you?
No,
that's
looking for nuggets.
So the first thing I need, let's say you're a BNI member with me. The first thing I need is a really strong relationship with you. Do you agree with that?
I do.
Okay. So I'm going to keep doing the same thing till I get a very strong relationship. So we may have 3 one-to-ones, of which most of it's going to be me trying to figure out how I can help you.
Giver's gain.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
Now, when we get enough relationship, you'll start really asking me and probing how you can help me.
And that time frame will be different in your relationship.
It'll be different people. That's exactly right. But I've been participating in BNI now for 16 years. And I've observed some things. I think I've learned some things. And that is that while we may say we want to help somebody else, what we're primarily focused on usually is getting help. Well, I'm going to flow with the river. Why fight that river? I'll just flow with the river until you decide to have the river flow back the other way. I mean, I'm going to be in BNI for years. It doesn't have to happen today or tomorrow. Some of my members, it'll happen very quickly.
Yes.
Some of my members, it'll take a long time. And some of the members in my chapter, it may never happen for.
Yeah.
I just need a few.
Yeah. So one of the things we like to talk about on this show is the quality of people in BNI. Not only because we're all there for money, we want to grow our business, and as you say, while living the life we want.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So BNI offers a lot of quality people in different parts of their life, different industries, new,
Yeah.
young, old, all that good stuff. But the constant theme is a community involvement. And you had talked about it earlier, your connection with Boy Scouts, and
Yeah.
you've been a volunteer for the Boy Scouts, giving you back to the community for a long time. How
I
did it
have.
start, and what is your role now with this?
Well, it actually started like it does for most parents. When my son got invited
Yeah.
to a Cub Scout pack meeting when he was 6 years old. And so we went. I had been a Cub Scout. I wasn't active after the Cub Scout age, but we went. I had some familiarity with scouting. At the end of the first year, the Cub Master, that's the adult volunteer that runs the pack, which are all the dens, indicated that he was stepping aside. And again, I won't go through the whole story, but I ended up being the Cub
Yes,
Master.
we are not surprised.
Yeah. And so I was a Cub Master for 5 years, which was a year after my son had moved on to Boy Scouts. And so when that 5 years was completed, I planned, I was stepping aside, and I actually had the thought, well, now I'll get to just be a Boy Scout dad. But before I could take off my Cub Master hat, I got a call to be the troop committee chairman for our troop. And it has spiraled up or down from there, depending on how you want to look at it. But now I'm just very, very deeply involved. One, primarily because it is just an excellent program for youth to get the kind of development to be valuable adults and valuable citizens. And so I'm committed to that. And that's where I express that.
My nephew is my sister's son is an Eagle Scout.
Very good.
And I didn't know it's one of those you kind of know it takes a long time to get to it.
Yeah.
And it's an elite level.
Yeah.
But I had no idea till we sat down one day. He's like, Uncle Mike, let me tell you what we did. And I'm
let
like,
me show you what I did.
And I go, wow. He goes, oh, there's more. And then, all this stuff is very impressive. And I told him, on your resume, will you lead with that?
Yeah.
Just somewhere near the top. You've got to put that just for the sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. The truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter where on the resume that it shows.
Yeah.
People always acknowledge the achievement of the Eagle rank.
Oh, yeah.
It is quite the accomplishment.
So, do you remember the first Pinewood Derby car you built with your son? I do, and it was ugly, which is why my wife helped build, because I'm not the builder in the family.
Yes, I do remember. We were lucky in our pack. We had a gentleman, Vincent Barty. Unfortunately, he's passed. He really was my scouting mentor when I became the Cub Master. But he was a handyman by trade. And so every year he would have the Pinewood Derby workshop. And he would have all the Cubs in the pack come over and their parents. He would do the cutting because, of course, kids can't use power tools. He would cut them, but he would have them shape them with their parents and paint them and assemble them right there. So my point is, I had a lot of help. Year over year, I had a lot of help because we always did it as a workshop project.
Our cars look better than they were fast.
That's true.
But thoroughly, I'm with you. My oldest son was in it for a little while, and I think I got in the wee below ranks when I was young. But it's impressive. So what did you learn from as a scout leader to a business coach? What kind of similarities in that organization did you?
There's a lot. One of the things, we train our scout leaders through. We have a program that we call Wood Badge, and I went to Wood Badge, and I've been on the Wood Badge staff twice, and that's where you really learn, is being on the staff more so than a participant. But we have a lot of focus on leadership skills, communications, and that plays right back in to business without any question. as well as we're always guiding the scouts in how they execute their responsibilities and in the process bring forth or provide leadership. And so we're always present to leadership, not as a word, as a concept, but as an action and a responsibility.
One of the other programs you offer in Team Nimbus is the mastermind groups. What did what did you learn just by watching because these are 6 to 8 to 10
That's exactly
people?
right.
What did you learn watching them talk about their businesses and helping each other that you hadn't planned on or wasn't part of your curriculum when you
Oh,
started?
that's where I get some of my greatest learnings. That's exactly right. And so let me tell you, a mastermind group, as we constructed in Team Nimbus, brings a couple of very valuable things to the process. Number one, it brings peer accountability. Nobody can hold you accountable like your peers, like-minded peers can. But secondly, you have the benefit of the other group members' experience. So they speak or provide input from their experience, and most importantly, their perspective. And who is it? Einstein says, or Einstein gets credit for, you can't solve a problem at the same level of thinking that the problem was created. Okay. And it's the same thing about perspective. One of the challenges of being a small business owner is we have our own perspective. But when we can benefit from others'
Yeah.
perspective, we can see a problem or see a potential solution in a very different way. And
Yeah.
so I benefit from that sitting and facilitating those groups just like the participants do.
And the phrase I don't know if it's can't see the forest for the trees or the
That's
trees for the forest, but you get so knee deep into running your own
that's
business
absolutely right.
that sometimes you don't have a chance to grow it.
That's absolutely right. And while a BNI chapter is not a mastermind group, it does give you the benefit of other people's perspective. It gives you the benefit of their experience, and most obviously, it gives you access to their networks.
Yes. And one of the things I've learned with BNI and trying to activate that in my group is when you listen to everybody stand up each week and if you write down, which I'm decent at writing down and then going back and looking at
Yeah.
a sheet, I'm trying to get better at that. To find out if there's 3 or 4 people in your chapter, and there usually are,
Mhm.
they're looking for the same people,
That's right.
whether it's a homeowner in this neighborhood, the medical industry,
That's right.
whatever, and then get those 3 or 4 people together. It's like, look, we all want to fish in the same pond. How do we do
That's right.
that?
That's
And which is
exactly
kind of
right.
a mini mastermind, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, and in BNI, we talk about power teams.
Oh, yeah.
Very effective, and have some of the same dynamics as a mastermind group.
And we talked earlier about leadership roles you've had. Which did you enjoy the most that you felt you could help the chapter best?
The one I liked the most actually was the first one I had, which was the vice president. Keeping track of the numbers and the results. I happen to have a pretty strong results orientation, and so literally I could contribute that to my chapter.
And do you do that for your business, where a referral came from, what it led to, and you can go back to
Yeah.
I imagine some of your referrals could be long lead time.
Yeah, and now what I do track, let me tell the truth. I track uh who referred someone to me.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily track the results of that referral as well. I track my overall results, but I do track who refers people to me, and I could rattle off very quickly the 3 people that have generated the most referrals for me because you know the the challenge is not doing the business, but it's the source of the business. If I know where my business is coming from, I'm worlds
It's
ahead.
your wood pile,
That's
right?
exactly
Oh, yeah.
right. So I do track very specifically who introduces me to who refers someone to me.
Are the financial people the most logical referral sources for you or referral partners for you, have you found?
Um, Actually, no. Now I draw a distinction, Mike, between referral partners and strategic partners. Let me tell you what that distinction is for me. A strategic partner refers work to you that's in the flow of the business. Like a realtor providing someone to a mortgage loan officer, it's got to be done. It's got to go that way. That's the way that work flows. I don't consider those referrals. Referrals to me are when someone introduces or sends someone to me out of their relationship.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
May not have anything to do with the business they're in. Just like when Ron Trace introduced me to the head of the North Carolina Bankers Association. Yep. It had nothing to do with the fact that he was a mortgage loan officer. Okay. Nothing at all. It had to do with their relationship, which started back in college. Those are referrals. Now, I take all the rest. Don't misunderstand me.
Oh, yeah.
But when you've been in the business I'm in and in a BNI and in BNI as long as I have, you develop some technical distinctions. And so for me, there's the work that flows through strategic relationships. That's the way that the work has got to flow anyway. Yes. It's just a question of who it flows to. And then there are referrals that are based on relationship.
Got it. Okay. I wrote that down. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that in an educational moment one day because I think it's good stuff. But you're right. You're absolutely right on that. Yeah. So looking forward to December of 2019. Let's give it a year and 4 months or so. Where do you want Team Nimbus to be?
Well, I'm working on an exit strategy. I'm moving towards my second retirement.
Okay.
I said when I'm 70, which will be the 15th of August, 2020, I'm gonna stop. So my thrust right now is to build Team Nimbus to the point that it's sellable.
Okay.
So by December 31st, 2019, if I'm gonna get there by August, I'll be there by December.
Well, knowing you, I believe a third career will happen because you can't just sit around.
No, I'm going to spend all my time in Scouts then.
Okay. Yeah. And then traveling the world with your son.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
Well, Bill, we've enjoyed today hearing your story. Folks, go to Team Nimbus. Check out Bill, his 100 Days to Abundance, his mastermind groups, and his business coaching. And as always, go to trianglebni.com to learn more about the chapters in the area. And we'll see you next week with Sandra Gooch Hollis with Gooch Hollis Real Estate. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.